a video on a Christmas cake that I made. So I made a Christmas cake, like a fruit cake type thing, and I used my own glacé cherries. I don't know if you can really see, but that's a glacé cherry there. What else did I make it with? Did I make it with? Oh yeah, I made it with the fruit from the leftover fruit gins that my friends make, and they gave me the fruit. But these cherries are absolutely delicious in this cake. So I made another batch of cakes. And I was having a bit of a clear out of the freezer, and I had these frozen sour cherries. So what I did was I defrosted them, and I squeezed the excess juice out of them because they'd been a bit wet otherwise. And then I had and then used those instead, or as well as some dried fruit and some other fruits, just to kind of see how it would turn out. So that's that one. So let's have a cut into it and let's have kind of see. But I was kind of thinking, if this one's worked, then I'll carry on this method of just defrosting the cherries, squeezing out the excess juice, and then we're left with a really delicious fruit cake, like a cherry fruit cake. So that's just a little disaster. So if it's worked, it's a good thing, and if it hasn't worked, I'm gonna have a go at dehydrating some of those cherries to see how that turns out. Because making my own glass of cherries, it was kind of quite a nice thing to do, but it was a long, laborious project. Okay, so that's kind of worked. So they're kind of there. Those are the cherries there. It's not just as moist as that one. Let's just, we'll try a bit. We'll try a bit. It's not just mature as I would have liked, but yeah, okay. Those cherries are there, but they've lost. Okay. Nice. Just not as nice as that one. But it's a bit of the Nods and Sods fruit cake anyway. So I have an idea. Tastes good though. And it's a bit drier, but that's delicious. So let's wrap that one back up. Like that. Then that can go back to mature. And I'm going to have a go at dehydrating these frozen cherries. And I was thinking about it while I was swimming, and I think the best thing to do is I'm going to be at work. It's a long shift tomorrow. I've got a lot to do. I've got some other functions kind of coming up, so I need to be there and do kind of other things. So there'll be somewhere warm in the kitchen where I can start the dehydration, these dehydrating. And what I'm going to do is, while they're still frozen, I want to cut them in half. They've got the skins on at the moment. It's not really a skin, but they've got a skin on them at the moment, which will slow down the dehydration process, which is not what I want. I want to kind of speed up the process. So I need to cut them in half, and then we'll sit them on a tray, and then that surface area there and all around there can dehydrate, and it will draw out the moisture in like a warm environment, about 75 degrees, something like that. But they're just easy as cut while they're frozen like this. And then we'll put them on a tray tomorrow, a lined tray, because the cherries are a little bit acidic, so and the sour, so they'll be more acidic. So we don't want the sourness to kind of, if it's aluminium tray, it will affect the aluminium, and it will affect the sounds like an inflection. It will affect the taste of the cherries, which is not what I want. So I'll cut them in half when they're frozen. Moisture will come out of them, which is not a bad thing. But when I squeezed them out, I squeezed out moisture, the water from them, and also juice, and I made my own cherry cordial from the juice that I squeezed out. But obviously the we lose a bit of flavour when we do that. But when we dehydrate things, instead of squeezing, we just evaporate water out of the cherries and are left with the flavour of the cherries. So, although that's kind of quite nice, it could be nicer. So I think we'll be able to make a really nice cherry fruitcake without, for the cost of the amount of cherries we're going to be using, it's going to be quite a lot. Fresh would be fine, but you've got to pit them. And these are about £2 in the supermarket, which isn't a bad price. If you were to buy the same amount of glacé cherries, it'd be quite expensive. To make my own glacé cherries, it's cheaper, but it's like a 5-6 day process. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid the cost of buying glacé cherries, which they're just not quite as nice as the ones that I can make, and I want to find an easier way of doing it rather than the 5, 6, 7 day process of making my own glacé cherries. But I'm waffling, so tomorrow you don't need to see, but I'll just put them on a tray, something that's like an enamel tray. So something like that, enamel tray, where it's not going to affect the flavour of the cherries, or a stainless steel, no, maybe not stainless steel, or I don't really like using cling film, like plastic wrap, but like a bit of plastic wrap or greaseproof parchment on the tray would do the job. Or a plate, that'd be fine. Yeah, like a ceramic plate or a glass plate or something glass, you know, something that's just not going to react with the juice from the cherries. But anyway, but you'll see, it'll be a bit juicy as it comes out of these overnight. But we'll just drain that off. And I see that one hasn't been pitted. There we go, that would smash someone's teeth, wouldn't it? Probably mine. Which is not what I want either. But anyway, I'm waffling. You see what I'm doing? You get the idea. We'll be back tomorrow. Right, so these are the cherries. I've done 2 packets of cherries. What are they weigh? 500 grams, I think. So they'll be like a kilo of cherries. And I've turned them so they've got the flesh side up, not the skin side. Because obviously not, there's 1 or 2 that aren't. But if we put the skin side up, then they're not going to dry out just as quickly and as easily. So flesh side up, and then the moisture can escape them. So those are the cherries, 2 trays, and then that much juice has come out of the cherries. When I squeeze them with a cloth, so I just put them in the cloth and wrung it. I'm trying to do the motion of wringing things out, but I can't because I'm holding the camera. So before I got a cloth and I squeezed out. I'm still doing the motion off camera. I squeezed out the extra juice with a camera, with a cloth. Got about twice as much juice as that. Got about 1 litre, something like that. But obviously, because there was flavour in the juice, we lost flavour in the cherries. So the cherries were nice, but they weren't very cherry-y. So this should be, sorry, chips boiling over. This should be work just a little bit better. The cherries should be kind of quite nicer, and hopefully the cherries will go a little bit glacé, so they'll be a little bit chewy. So we'll see how we go. But that's the juice, those are cherries. We'll see how they are. I'm going to be here for the next 10 hours. No, 8. I'm going to be here for the next at least 8 hours, so they're going to be somewhere warm for about 8 hours. They're probably going to need longer than that, about 75 degrees, but we'll see how we go. So, they've gone a bit too far. These are okay. Gone a bit too far. Those are okay. So, I'll have a bit of a sort through them, and we'll kind of see. That's kind of what I was aiming for. So, not as dried as like a raisin or a sultana, just the majority of the liquid taken out. That's all right. I'm not gonna be too picky. Those are like those there gone too far. These down here are fine. There's 1 or 2 in there that are fine. What does that taste like? Yeah, it's fine. I think we'll see how it'll turn out. I think the best result will be making my own glacé cherries. That was probably going to be the best kind of result. And maybe when cherries are in season and they're fresh, I'll have a go at that. I'll do like a big batch of them, and then we'll kind of make the best cherry fruitcake in the world ever. Kind of have a play around with that, I think. But we'll see how we go. So these are the cherries. I had to do more, so there is. I ended up using about five packets of cherries. What were they? Were they about So what are they? Yeah, so they're 600 grams each of the packets. I overly did some, so we probably might get away with 4 packets. And I'm going to do like a loaf tin, and these normally take 3 eggs, so that's it must be like 1.5 pounds of fruit. And then also, because it's pointless just making 1 cake, so I'm going to make 2 cakes, and then I'm also going to do a blueberry one, a blueberry cake as well. Oh yeah, there was extra cherries as well. So yeah, you probably get away with 4 packets of 4 times 600 grams worth of frozen cherries to get that amount of dried cherries. Yeah, so I was I made some blueberry cordial, and it's delicious. And I only kind of buy it. I make it when the blueberries are cheap on the market. I was on a local market, and they were selling off blueberries. I got 5 big punnets for £4. He gave me a punnet for free, so as well, which is very kind of him. I was kind of thinking I wanted to make, and then what I did, I made the blueberry juice ages ago, and then I don't waste anything. So all the pulp of the blueberries, well, it's not pulp. It's kind of, so I just squeeze them a little bit. There's a video, but basically what you do is you squeeze them, then freeze them, and then squeeze them in a cloth to grain out, to get out all the juice, and you're left with, that's the pulp. But it's not really pulp, and it kind of looks like raisins, and I was kind of like, oh, I wonder if we could make a cake out of that. And I ended up putting in just a normal cake mixture, and it made a really nice cake, instead of like using like dried fruit. So, because I don't like wasting anything or throwing things away. So, because blueberries were cheap, I bought some blueberries. I'm going to make some blueberry cordial, and we're left with this. And I kind of thought as well, while we're making it, we'll see if those make a rich fruit cake as well, because I make a fruit cake with, God, I'm waffling, the leftover fruit from my friends make blueberry gin, and they give me the fruit once it's matured into the gin. They just throw the fruit away, they give it to me, I make cakes out of it, I give them a cake back. It's all a happy thing. They don't give me any gin though. I think I've been done. But anyway, not really, they're very generous people anyway. So, we're going to make a cherry one, we're going to make a blueberry one, and then it's kind of quite interesting. We'll see how it turns out. Will it make a suitable replacement for dried fruit? There is these crazy ideas that the world's going to explode and we're going to be food shortages and things. So I just kind of think it's kind of quite interesting and to find out these things if there's alternatives, because that's the kind of things I like to do. So I've forgotten what the recipe is. Oh, it's 3 eggs for one of those, so it double the amount of other ingredients to eggs. So it will be, if it's 3 eggs, it will be 6 ounces of butter, 6 ounces of soft dark brown sugar, and 6 ounces of self-raising flour, and that's flour with the raising agent in it, and about a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground mace, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and the zest of a lemon. And I also put the zest in an orange as well, because I've got one that was just kicking about, and I'd had cocktails, so I was left with that bit there. But I'm not going to have cocktails for until the weekend now. So I kind of thought, well, I might as well just use up the zest of that. So there's a bit of orange zest in there as well, because we don't like waste. So I made a cake mixture and I split it in half. So this half, if the cherries are going to go in like that. So they are like dried fruit, but just a little bit wetter. So hopefully it should work. And then best off with a wooden spoon, if I'm honest. I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. I looked at the length of my videos and they're really long. But I just kind of think I've got what's my rationale over it. I kind of think I watch videos and there's always kind of questions that I kind of want to ask. That they just kind of say that you do this, and this is how it turns out. Whereas I've always kind of got quite a lot of questions that I want to ask, you know, and if something goes wrong, I'd want to know why and kind of potential pitfalls of things. That's okay, isn't it? That's okay. And potential pitfalls of things and all that kind of stuff. So that mixes into there, and then this one mixes into here. This one's a little bit wetter. We'll see how it turns out. But lots of juices come out of them. And it's just, oh yeah, it's just slightly under. There's a couple of ounces under the amount of fruit that should be in there. But we'll kind of see. It's goose fingers, but it's only for me. So mix this one to this one, see how this mixes in. Might be a bit wetter. But then what you do with these rich fruit cakes anyway is you add a little bit of whiskey or a little bit of rum or a little bit of brandy, and they're cooked. So it should work. There's more fruit in them this time than I used with just the normal cake mixture. And I've used proper butter. I don't like using baking fat. If I'm making cakes, I don't use baking fat. I always use proper butter, and salted as well. Not the is it? Yeah, it's just salted butter. I think. Yeah. So, this is why I waffle. So we were always taught that you should use unsalted butter in baking, and then the arrival of salted caramel and things like that happened, and people started putting a little bit of salt in with chocolate and all kinds of things, and you just kind of think, well, that's a rule that's just slightly been changed, isn't it? We've gone from we don't put salted butter in things to having salt in desserts. So I've always used salted butter in things, and a chef would say that they like to control the amount of salt they put in things, and you don't know how much salt is in pre-salted butter, whereas I'd argue the fact that you taste things and you know exactly how much salt is in things because you taste and you add a little bit more. Anyway, I'm waffling, aren't I? So that's that one, and then we need to kind of differentiate between them somehow. I'll scrape these bits off here because I don't want. There'll be a few bits of blue green with the cherries and vice versa, but not that much. So that and that, and it wants to go in the oven for about 3 hours, 100 degrees. I'll put a bit of paper on top of it as well, just to protect it a little bit. That's that one, and then this one. Do you really need to see this? No, but I'm talking, and I'm saying things that might be kind of quite interesting. And also, you can see if we go wrong, I can think of things that I might want to kind of think about. These are sour cherries, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work. It might be more of a savoury kind of cake, not like a sweet cake. It might just be a little bit more grown up. That's generally what people say, isn't it? They say when things are grown up, meaning that they've got a little bit. They're not as sweet or as sticky or as gooey as like someone who's got quite a basic palate would like. So yeah, you can see that the 2 ounces of fruit makes a bit of difference. There we go. Right, so I'll eat that. That's fine. That's Chef's treat. So press down. It'll melt into the corners anyway. We'll see how it turns out, and then we'll be able to tell the difference. I'm sure we will. That one's going to be a lot darker, isn't it? How's it taste? It's cake mixture. It's nice. So we'll know this is a cherry one. Guess we'll do that. Man, I've been shouting. Now there we go. In the oven, 3 hours, about 140, 50 degrees, something like that. Been a little over 3 hours. It's about 3.5, but the cakes look ready. I covered them because I was concerned about them drying out too much on top, but they're starting to come away. There, so they look like they're ready. So I need to decide whether I'm going to cut into them when they're cool, and then we can have a look. Or we're going to let them mature. We can cut an end off, can't we? Yeah, we'll cut an end. We'll let them go cool, and then we'll cut an end off and we'll kind of have a look. It's pretty obvious that those are the cherries. I'm just curious to see how they turn out. Let's have a look. They've cooled, they've shrunk slightly, but I'm not too worried about that. It's not a cake competition. Look nice and moist. So I'll just take the end off. That was a cherry one, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a cherry. This is the blueberry. I'm going to wrap them up and I'm going to mature them for a few months. I'll just have a look now and get an idea. Oh, it's lovely moist as that. Look at that. It looks like there's loads of fruit as well. That's lovely. That's going to taste even better in a few months. That's really nice. So that really works. So that's going to work with any kind of fruit. I suppose you could do it with grapes. So you could squash the grapes, freeze the grapes, extract the juice out of them, and then what was kind of left, you could put that in a cake, and that would work really well. What else? What kind of similar kind of fruits? I can't think of any. I like red currants, cranberries, all those type of things. They don't work. So you don't actually have to dry them out. You just have to extract the majority of the juice. You're going to lose flavour. So the juice, I'll show you the juice that I've got out. So out of the, I don't know how much weight there was, but like 5 big punnets. That's how much juice came out. So about a litre worth of juice. So you've kind of lost the flavour because there's going to be flavour in the juice. So you've lost flavour, but it still tastes really good. So you're getting 2 bites out of this. You're getting 2 bites of the cherry. But anyway, that can work. So when blueberries are cheap, that's the thing to do. Although £4 for one cake seems quite a lot. Maybe not the most economical, but I don't know. We're playing around, aren't we? And then this is a cherry. Look at that. Look at that. That looks great, does that? That looks great. So, how does this one taste? I think that's going to be even better in what we call it, in the after a few months as well. So it's lovely and moist. That's really good as well. That's really good. So it's not cheap. I haven't created some kind of cheap way of making fruitcakes. This is kind of like probably a more expensive way to kind of go around it. I've got some fruit. So how much does that weigh? So I've got some of that. I've got some mixed dried fruit. I've got some sultanas, and these are the cheap ones from Lidl. So how much is that? They're about £1 and 5p each, something like that. Yeah, so buying pre dried fruit is cheaper. I can imagine that dehydrated cherries are going to be expensive, and I don't know where you get them from. You'll be able to order them online, but they're not going to be cheap. So you can do it yourself. So if you kind of get a glut of cherries, you don't know what to do with them, you can do that. You don't have to, you can dry them out. But you can also just squeeze the juice out of them as well. So it kind of works both ways. So potentially you could do that with cherries. Stone the cherries, squeeze them, just kind of give them a squeeze, just kind of release some of the juice. Freeze them, defrost them, squeeze them out in a cloth, which is pretty straightforward. You just get like a, this is the cloth that I use. It's like that, just like a heavy gauge cloth. That's going to take you squeezing them and then just put them in the cloth and wring it out and squeeze out lots of juice. You kind of lose flavour, but it kind of works the same as like a dehydrator. But there we go, they're a success. I'm happy. Although what spawned this on was the what we call it was the cake, the Christmas cake I made, and I've made it with my homemade Glace cherries, which was even nicer than that. And the Glace cherries was particularly nice in it. So I think we'll have a go at that. We'll have a go at making a load of homemade Glace cherries, and then we'll make a fruit cake like that. And I think it'll be ridiculously indulgent. But there we go. It works. It's interesting, and it goes to show you can. It's something different. I'm not saying it's the cheapest way of doing things. It's kind of a long way around to do something when you can just go out and buy dried fruit. But it is possible. And that's kind of what I'm interested in. Can we do this? Is it possible? Will it work? And then we can take that knowledge and use it somewhere else. Because if you don't, like we try these things out, rather than when we've got a big, it's like if you had a cherry tree in your garden, like what would you do with all those cherries? Well, you can do that. What happens if you can a load of blueberries? You can find a load of blueberries really cheap. It's that type of thing. But there we go. It works. It's successful. I'm rather happy with that.